we're live. Excellent. And we're back. And my water is boiling for coffee. So that's a good thing. Make some coffee later. Be wonderful. Anyway, back to this. First thing that I am going to do today, just kind of do a rundown of today's class. First thing that I am going to do today is I'm going to talk about two of the ciphers from last class. Last class, we did a class-long challenge. I have to say, I was very excited. I could feel the brain power emanating from your desks. It was wonderful. Did you feel it? No? I was saying it was very interesting to see that, just because it's like I could see the dedication that you guys were putting into it. It was wonderful. It's fantastic, Minus 15 points. Anyway, I don't take compliments that well. Just so you know.
Well, your suit's really nice, so you punch him in the face.
Well, no, one time, and yes, obviously for those of you in the chat, make sure you start leaving those comments. But one time I said that to somebody, and I said, yeah, I don't take compliments that well. You lose points if you give me a compliment. They're like, okay, I hate your tie. And I'm like, and I took off more points. And they're just like, so what do you like? So it was like, so they gave me the compliment, and I'm like, minus 10. And they're like, what? Okay, fine. Your tie is ugly. Minus 15. What do you want me to do? Just sit here and do nothing? And I just kind of stopped for a moment. I'm like, minus 5. You can't win. But the first thing I want to do is go over specifically these two puzzles right here, the Polybius and the Bifid, just to kind of show you what the heck is going on with there. Then, I do have an introduction to something known as the Enigma project. Now, not to be cryptic about it all. I know, right? See what I did there? Yeah. Not to be cryptic about it all, but you're not going to exactly know what the Enigma project is just yet. I'm going to be slowly kind of rolling you into it in little, spits and spurts, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. I have 3 specific parts that I want to work on, 1 together and then 2 on your own, but we'll talk about that. Furthermore, at some point today, I am going to be posting an assessment that you guys are going to get done for me for some of the transposition problems that we have been doing. Obviously, you had a minor. When was that due? You had a minor due. There it is. On February 24th. That was a transposition minor. Now I want to combine that transposition minor with a couple other things that we've been doing and give you another assessment in that regard. It'll be fairly straightforward. For those of you that turned it in, which I think, most people did. I'm just taking a peek at it right now. Oh, yeah, you guys all turned it in. Yeah. Give yourselves a high five. Okay, no, it's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. But for those of you that turned it in, obviously, you kind of see like, oh, yeah, that was very, straightforward kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. My job in this class is not to wreck you with assignments. Obviously, we're going to get assignments and we're going to get grades and I have to hit a certain minimum. But the purpose of this class, are you guys all seniors? No? Who junior? Okay, cool. But this is like an extra class. This is a math class, but it's extra. It's not something that you have to take. You volunteered to take this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. What'd you think it was? Yeah. Everything is math. 2,000 years ago.
What about English?
Huh?
What about English?
No, it's math.
Well, I guess it's math.
You know why?
You
You know why? English follows a certain set of rules, grammatical rules, but more importantly, axioms. Axioms and logic.
Now, that means nothing to me.
No?
I have no clue what axioms are.
An axiom is like a fundamental thought about the state of being. For example, A plus B is equal to B plus A. Is that true? Yeah, it's true. Of course it's true. A plus B equals B plus A. That's an axiom. It's not something that can necessarily be proven, but it's something that we fundamentally know. Yeah. A deer plus a bear is equal to a bear plus a deer. Anyway, that's sad. To this. So this is the Polybius or the Polybius, if you want to put it, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. That's up to you. Because I've been pronouncing things wrong for a while. And they give you this encrypted message, and they want you to decipher it. This is something that you guys did last time. Obviously, you already know what the answer is. But the reason why I show you the Polybius first before the bifid is because the bifid is a bit more complicated. Now, if you happen to click, which I did see a lot of you do, thankfully, if you happen to click the Polybius thing up here, it asks you, oh, what is a Polybius square cipher? And then they give you this example down here, in which the encrypted message is this. Now, if you read the directions, it's like, oh, I take the number 13, and that's a 1-3. Okay, the number 24. 24 is a 2-4. Oh, it's IJ, so, and then you can see cipher. And you're like, oh, snap, that's how I figured that thing out. I take the numbers, I take the row by the column. If you know anything about matrices, typically the order is always row by column. So let me go back to this thingy. Here we go. Let me walk up to my board and just kind of walk through what this thing did. First, let me break up these two-digit numbers right here, just to kind of jump through this. There we go. 44 should be what, a T? Because it's row, column, T. When you get to the IJ situation, that's a little bit weird, but we'll deal with that. So that's a T. The 2-3 should be an H. I'm going to skip the 2-4 temporarily, and I'm going to go to 4-3. 4-3 is S. Clearly, the 2-4 should be an I. You can pretty much use the context of the situation to determine whether it's an I or a J. Sure. Here's the funny thing. They combine IJ a lot. And J seems like a pretty common letter, right, to combine with I. Why would they combine them? I mean, they're right next to each other. But, there are a lot of words that you can think of that start with J, right? Can you think of 5 words that have J somewhere in the middle of it?
Project.
Well, now you're just jumping off of his word. I know it does work. Like project, projectile, like obviously, the plurals and all that stuff, But J, it's an awkward letter. It's an awkward letter to use. Ejection, yes, is clearly a word with J in the middle, but it's like ejection. It's just awkward. Jam, jelly, jungle. Anyway, back to this. It should be an I. You can pretty much use the context of the situation to determine whether it's an I or a J in this case. Same thing with the Playfair cipher. 1-3, C, 2-4. Again, I or J, it's probably going to be an I. 3-5 is a P. I'm pretty sure this is going to be cipher. I already know 2-3. 15 is probably an E, and 42 is probably an R, and it is. Yeah. This cipher, we already know I and S, those two, 24, 43, is, it's not super easy. 3-5 is P. There you go. P. 42 is R. We already know what E is. We already know what T is. And then 5-4 is Y. And then 4-3 is S. What I think it was simple, right? Yeah, but that's how you would go about doing that. That is the Polybius cipher. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of matching the row and the column and determining what letter it actually is. I show you that in preparation for the bifid, because the bifid, it was a bit more complicated. Yeah. It was not. Okay. So just to kind of walk through the bifid, right? They give you this example, and they say, okay, here's the encrypted message, IDRZN. And it's the same type of grid, which is why I paired these together in showing you today. The message is the word guess. And what they did was they looked up the letter G in the grid, and they found out that G was at position 22. U is at position 45. E is at position 15. S is at position 43, obviously twice in a row. So they list all of those out vertically, and then they read them horizontally in order to get the code that they're going to get. So it's like, okay, well, 24 was an I, and 14 was a D, and 42 was an R, and then they go from there, and they get ISRZN from the word guess. Now, with what we have to do, we have to work backwards. And yes, I agree. It is, I'm not going to, well, yeah, it does suck from a certain perspective. But I'm just going to say it's a bit more complicated, you know? It can be. But like, I don't know. I find it very interesting because obviously, like in today's day and age, you guys can send electronic messages like that, right? I'm going to talk very briefly after this about how they're properly encoded. We'll talk about that and how they can actually be private. But, you know, you guys don't have the world that I grew up in where people were still like passing like full page notes to each other. I know. But I'm just saying, like, if you wanted, you know, not a full page note, but if you wanted a note to be sent, you want it to be like encrypted, like, you know, there were some schoolyard things that you could do to, you know, encrypt it, so to speak. Nothing this complicated, but usually it's a matter of life and death. So let's see what we got here. So first, we're going to figure out the positioning of each of these letters. OZ, where's O? There it is. O is 34. Z is 55. L is 31. Again, you're going row, column. Q, 2 times in a row, 41, 41. A is 1, 1. U is 45. Z twice in a row, 55, 55. I'm going to run out of room, but that's okay. I'll just skip to the next one. 115. I'll do something with these numbers in a minute. L is 31. K is 25. V is 51. And S is 43. There we go. So I figured out the positioning of all of those letters. Now, again, let me go back to this example right here. Because look what they did exactly. Look what they did. They took the numbers that were originally written in columns, and it was just 2 rows worth of a column, and they read them horizontally left to right to get the code. Now, this is that horizontal code. We have to take this horizontal code, and we have to put it back into this positioning. How many numbers do I have, by the way? I have 26 letters? So I'm going to go 13 and 13 then. If it's 26, I'm going to trust you on that one, though. If you're wrong, you know what's going to happen. No. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. You for real? Yeah. I was trusting you. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 20. It's got to be 14 and 14 then, right? Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. There we go. So I had to arrange them in that 2-row situation in order to match the example that we were going for. Let me flip back to the other screen so we can decode it. I forget actually what the real thing was. 35. What's 35? 35 is a P. Because I'm going vertically now. 45 is a U. 55 is a Z, and it's 2 times in a row. 31 is L. Yes, it's going to be puzzles, obviously. But let's see. 15 is an E. 43 is an S. Puzzles. 11 is an A. Vertically, 42 is an R. It's probably going to be R. 15 is an E. 15 again. And then 11. And then 44. Was it 44?
44.
53.
I got TX, but I just figured out that it was.
Huh.
Yeah, I also got what I got. See, I told you. I actually just guessed that it was easy
Because of the EA.
yeah, I don't know why it came out to TX. Wait,
That's interesting.
maybe the V and the S are easy too, and I just like or something like that.
Maybe. Well, now here's the thing. You guys did this last time, and you independently got the exact same thing that I got, right? So I'm fairly confident that we did not make a mistake.
7 people did it wrong.
Yeah. So there has to be something with their cipher then.
Yeah.
You know? That's interesting.
It might be 7 and 14. Something wrong with them. There's something there because why?
Yeah, it should be 54. No, it should be 43 and 54, right? Yeah, so these two numbers, right? That's probably what they mixed up then. That last little thing. Let me hold on. So the last one was a VS. It was a VS. No, the last one was an S. And we got 43 out of that. But it really should have been 34. So this last letter should have been an O in the ciphertext. If this last letter were an O, then we would have written that 34, and then it would have been correct. Oh, that's interesting. You know, I was looking over a while ago the Playfair ciphers that you guys did for the day that I was not here. And with the Playfair cipher, a lot of you fell into that same trap where you were inverting numbers. Or not numbers, but letters. And when you inverted those letters, I left the comments on your things, by the way. But when you inverted those letters, it ended up messing up the cipher when I tried to go backwards. It should say puzzles are not easy. Nobody gets me. Anyway. So, as I said, I am going to be giving you a pretty straightforward assessment on what we've been doing with transposition ciphers. And again, some of these easy things. Like some of these ciphers that you saw for the first time, how easy was the Pigpen cipher? Right? That's what I'm saying. It's like, sometimes it's like, why would I spend like a half an hour teaching the Pigpen cipher when I could just have you jump straight to it and knock it out in like 10 seconds? I mean, it wasn't 10 seconds, but it was probably a few minutes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, something like the Pigpen cipher, it's like, meh. Now, the rail fence cipher, I just want to go back to that real quick because I know there was a bit of an issue with rail fence with this. I forget which one did it. Hold on. It was this one. There we go. With rail fence. I forget what the answer was, which, by the way, if you go view page source, this is what I was talking about last time. You could figure out what the answer is right there. Okay. But yeah, it's clearly practice makes perfect, right? But if I'm going to do practice makes perfect with 4 rails, I don't know. Let me just see what would happen with 4 rails. So let's see. How many letters are in practice makes perfect? 20? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I did see this when you guys saw that it was rail fence. I saw a bunch of you immediately drawing this out. Which is good, right? It's what I wanted. But unfortunately, I got to check this. I'm going to use a different marker right here. I got to check to see what they did. So practice. Is it practice makes perfect? That's how the rail fence should have been filled in. Oh no. And then as a result, the actual ciphertext should have been PCSC RIEEP ET ATMK ETCAR. That's what it should have been. But I don't know. They're calling this rail fence. I'm sorry, this is probably mislabeled on their website. It should be a route cipher. A route cipher is just a particular route that you take around the grid. You know what I'm saying?
This one is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Once you know that it's not a rail cipher.
They just did Thurs.
They what?
It's down, up, down, up.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's like you ever play? Oh no, you guys. I don't know if you remember this. Yeah. It's like on the old Nokia phones. On the old Nokia phones.
Maybe not a Nokia, but my dad had a BlackBerry.
All right.
Like Snake on.
Okay, I didn't know that they had Snake on there. But that's what I'm saying. It's basically what this is. It's not really rail fence. So it is mislabeled, and I'm going to have to yell at this high school. But yeah, that's what it really should have been.
You should bully this probably student for doing this.
Well, no, it's just, again, a matter of like mislabeling it. It's not actually rail fence, you know? Oh, goodness. But yeah, it's like, because it's like actually, it's really interesting. Let me check the link that he had. Let me check the link that he had, because the link may help a little bit. Okay, it says, when solving the rail fence cipher, the player is given an encrypted message and an amount of rails. The groups of scrambled words are assembled according to the rows, which has already been done in the game. To decrypt the message, the player will read down and up each row like a zigzag. Yes, I understand that, but you done messed up. It's either that or perhaps like they just messed up in terms of what they were supposed to do. Hold on, let me think for a second. Yeah, I'll have to go back to them. Anyway, to this. So, as I mentioned, I am introducing to you today something slowly. We're going to be doing this over the course of the next couple of months, actually. It's going to be like a little side project that we're going to do, but I wanted to spend a bit more time on it today, just kind of as a first day intro. It's called the Enigma project. Now, this is only part one of the Enigma project. There are a ton of parts, and we're, again, slowly but surely. Now, you don't know exactly what to do with this just yet, but it's going to help you figure out the ultimate answer to the Enigma project. Now, this is one example right here that I am going to post to Google Classroom eventually. There's another one right here that we're going to do with ancient runes. It's going to be kind of nice right there. And then there's one that we're going to do together today on Morse code. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Morse code. No? You know what it is. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. We'll talk about that, But yeah, that's what we're mainly going to be talking about today. So actually, something very interesting that I just want to talk about in terms of Morse code. How were messages passed along 2,000 years ago?
Smoke signal.
Well, could be smoke signals, but letters pretty much were the most common form of passing messages. The most common form was letters, but of course you actually had to have someone be the deliverer of said message or something, or maybe, I mean, obviously, what's the point if it's just you? If I'm going to write out a note and then walk over to Mr. Liston's room to deliver it, why can't I just go over and just say it to him? Unless I just don't want other people to hear it. Cool. Or I could just be like, hey, here's a note, give it to Mr. Liston, and then you walk it over. Yeah, that's the deliverer, But then eventually technology advanced and they discovered kind of like a wire system almost. Think about like the Civil War time. They passed messages along during the Civil War. They had like a communications center in the White House to actually collect the Morse code signals that they were getting in order to write them out. You know what I'm talking about? You guys ever see the movie Lincoln? No. Goodness gracious. No, they had a communications center set up in the White House. Actually, the guy who played Kylo Ren is in Lincoln as one of the communicators. You should see it. It's a good movie. Yeah, do you know the scene I'm talking about? The one, he talks about Euclid. It's a fantastic scene. But anyway, eventually things went up to another level where they were able to transmit messages via radio waves. But whether it be a piece of paper that someone is delivering or a message tapped out on a wire because they actually have a wire connecting one place to the other, or it being a wireless signal, whether it be radio or electronics or satellites or whatever, somebody is always going to hack in and intercept the message. It's just the name of the game. So now think of it this way. Imagine this following scenario. Let's say that, now this is just a piece of paper. Let's say that I wrote a message in this piece of paper and I locked it in a steel box. Okay? It's locked. It's got a padlock on it. And I send it to Mr. Liston's room because I want that message to be secure. What's the problem, though, once that box arrives in Liston's room? He doesn't have the key. Most of these things come down to locks and keys, algorithms and keywords, let's say. Most of these things come down to locks and keys. If I want the message to be secure, and I send that on to Mr. Liston, I'm sacrificing the fact that it's not practical because he can't open it. So what do? Oh, snap. This is the problem that people were considering when the internet first became a thing in the 60s and the 70s. How do you send a secure message if you can't exchange the key? Now, if I, write this in secret code and then say, hey, give this to Mr. Liston and I would have previously discussed what the key would have been. We would have previously discussed that. But that means that he and I would have had to meet and exchange keys verbally and then go on our merry way. But if I'm trying to send a message to Liston or even to my wife right now, who's at home, I don't really have a key that I can give them. This is the problem with sending something like an email. Now imagine a situation in which I have a giant metal box. I put the message into the box. I put the padlock on the box. I send it on to Mr. Liston. He gets the box. He adds his own padlock. Then the box is sent back to me. I remove my padlock because I have the key to that. But it's still locked because there's a second padlock that Liston added. Then I send the box on to Liston, and finally he can open it. Doesn't that sound like the message would get there and no one else would read it? Yeah. A little bit of a ping-ponging situation. This is the type of thinking, this weird abstract idea of thinking that eventually led to the internet security that you guys have today. Anybody taking computer programming or thinking about it? Or you're in it right now? AP? Have you guys learned about open key and private key? Okay. I hope you do. I hope you do. Open key and private key is just basically like there is a mathematical way. There is a mathematical way of enciphering a message where it's impossible for anyone to kind of go back without the key. But then like I type out a message and I say, okay, I want to send it to Liston. I'll just use Liston. So I type in his email. His email is attached to what is called an open key. And it ciphers the message. I don't know what it says. It's sent to Liston. He's the only one with the key. So he can uncipher it. It's really weird like that. But when I send it, it's like there's this private key that actually does it. It's this weird system where we don't have to exchange keys in order to do it, but it can be done instantaneously. You guys don't think about it because you just send messages and you don't even think about it. You send a text message and you assume it's private and that it's secure. Don't you assume that? Yeah. Technically it is, right, for now, until somebody eventually breaks that system. It's a really interesting idea. I know. But again, this idea of abstract thought, how do you keep messages secure, eventually led to the security of the internet that you have today. It's pretty sick, actually. It's pretty sick. Okay, let's talk Enigma project. Now, like I said, I'm going to post those things to you, but first, I'm going to post this one because I want to talk about this one together with you guys, the Morse code activity. So let me go to your Google Classroom. I am going to add from my file. Come on, you're supposed to be automatically there. Teaching, subjects, cryptology, Enigma project, Morse code. What's up? PDF. Post. Open that up once you see it. Now, Morse code, you don't necessarily have to know exactly how it works, but it's helpful kind of getting this little explanation right here. It's a way of sending messages using sound but without speaking. Every letter of the alphabet has been assigned a particular pattern of long and short signals like bleeps. The long signals are called das and are represented by dashes. Bleeps and das. The short signals are called dits. Das and dits are represented by dots. A da takes 3 units of time and is represented by that dash. A dit takes 1 unit of time and is represented by a dot. The message SOS in Morse code would be the following. ... dash, 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 ... That's probably the one that most people are familiar with. Okay. You're nodding yes, but like everyone else is like, what? You know what SOS stands for, right? Inform him. Or save our ship. Anyway, back to this. So there is a pause of 3 units between each letter. There is a pause of 7 units between each word. So the message SOS, it says, would take 21 units of time to send. And it's because that would take 1, that would take 1, this would take 3 right here. Altogether, that is, 9 plus 6, that's 15. That's only 15 units of time. Well, how do you get 21 units of time there?
Spaces.
How many spaces are there?
More than 1.
True, true. There's a space here, and there's a space here, because remember, it's 3 letters. There's a space there. The first one is S, the second one is O, and the third one is S. It says there is a pause of 3 units between each letter. So this pause would have been 3, and this pause would have been 3. Altogether, 1 plus 1 plus 1, 3 plus 3 plus 3, 1 plus 1 plus 1, and 3 equal what? 21. That's how they get 21 units of time. And again, I don't know what these units of time are. I'm assuming seconds, but obviously it depends on the situation. Morse code. It's really insane if you actually watch someone like understanding Morse code and like writing it down as the message is coming in, or someone who's sending it out with the pad that actually sends it out. It's pretty insane. But that's how they do this kind of thing. In between words, there would be 7 units of a pause, and we kind of go from there. At the bottom of this page, which you guys have this in your Google Classroom, they have the following situation. The message below gives a clue to the identity of the enigmatic character, but the radio signal was poor, and so some letters were not heard correctly. Work what the message said by using the information that was recovered. Altogether, this message took 113 units of time in total to transmit the message. The first word took 34 units of time. The third word took 47 units of time. Although neither of the letters in the second word was heard, we know that the first letter took longer to transmit than the second letter. What I'm going to suggest, and I'm going to flip my camera over that you can see it as well, is that you write down the following on a separate sheet of paper to kind of help you noodle out what the heck this message is supposed to say. Flip my camera to here. There we go. Zooming out. Come on, zoom out. Come on, zoom out. There we go. Much better. Let's see here. So 5, 2, and 6. Five, 2, and 6. There we go. Now I'm going to fill in some information for myself. First of all, we can figure out a couple of letters in the first word. That ... what letter is that according to this alphabet up here? That ... in the first word.
That is a U.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just double checking. That is a U. Now, more importantly, ... how many time units would that take? 5, because it would be 1 and 1 and 3, right? So I'm going to write a little 5 underneath of that letter. I'm going to write a little 5 because I'm going to keep track of time units here. Underneath the first 2 letters, I'm going to put a 4 and a 9, like that. I'm going to put a 4 and a 9. Just because, again, I want to keep track of time units. Now, yes, these are individual letters, and there is time between them, but we'll deal with that in a minute. The last letter in the first word is just a dot. What letter does that represent? Cool. So that's an E, and clearly that just takes 1 time unit, right? That just takes 1 time unit. Okay. Now remember, there is a certain amount of time that transpires between each letter. So, if that's the case, how many time units are between each letter, according to this thing? Yeah, it says right here, there's a pause of 3 units between each letter. So I'm going to put that little pause up here. Between each letter, there's a little pause. I'm going to separate this real quick. How much of a pause is there between each word? Yeah, it should be 7 time units according to this thing. I'm going to put a little 7 out here and a 7 out here to account for those pauses between words. See, because we can figure this puzzle out. They basically gave you next to nothing, and you can figure out what this thing is supposed to say. So, furthermore, they tell you that the first word took 34 units of time. The first word took 34 units of time. Based on that, I can figure out the following. Look how many units of time I have so far just in that first word. How many units of time will this letter take? 3. Yeah, it should take 3, because altogether that first word took 3 extra units of time. This is the puzzle solving. I love it so much. So that's 34 units. Let me just put that right here. This is equal to 34 units. This one I don't know. This one took 47 units. Wait a minute. How many units did the whole message take? 115? 113. So 34, 7, 7, and 47. 113 minus 95. This one must have taken 18 units. Love this kind of stuff. Hey, do you ever do those puzzles back in the day where, I forget what they were called, but like depending on the numbers at the top of the row and at the side of the column, you had to fill in like a certain number of like black squares. And then eventually, once you did it correctly, it revealed a picture. I love that. That's kind of like what this is. It's revealing a little picture, but in words. So, let's go a little bit farther. It says, okay, this is 2 units and 3 units. I'm filling that in right there at the bottom. That's 2 units and 3 units. They told me that. They also, I know that this is 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3 between each letter. Furthermore, we know what the 2 letters are on the last word. What are those 2 letters? It's a dash dot dot and a dash dash.
D.
Dash dot dot is D. And what about dash dash? M is dash dash. Okay, so that's a D and an M. But furthermore, just to kind of fill you in with this was 5 units and this was 6 units of time. Now we're on our way. Look back at the Morse code list. And look where I'm pointing down here. I'm going to start with this one right here. This letter should have taken 2 units. Just 2 units. Tell me, with those dashes and dots, what's the only way that you could get 2 units of time? Dot, dot. And what's a dot, dot? Yeah. That's the only way you're going to get that. That's an I right there. Now, oh, you can't see it. Now we're filling it in. Now we're trying to figure out what this junk is. Let's go to 3. Let's go to 3. 3 units. Now with 3 units, you have 2 options. What are your 2 options for 3 units of time? 1 dash or 3 dots. Okay, so what's 3 dots? S, and what's a dash? Oh, snap. So these 2 letters right here, this letter in the first word is either an S or a T. Let me just make a little note for myself. I'll put it in red so I can write over it letter. This has got to be an S or a T. And so is this. This has got to be an S or a T. Nice. We could do the same thing with 4. We could do something similar with 4. Is there a letter that has 4 dots? Which one is it? Okay. And is there a letter that just has 2 dashes? What is it? M. Oh, I'm sorry, not 2 dashes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Dot dash or dash dot. Ah, A and N. So this could be an H, an A, or an N. So you said house, and what'd you say? I thought you said another word.
Oh, no. I was just reading the letter.
Oh, my bad. So you say house.
Yes.
Now, if it is house, then this 9 time unit letter, it should be an O. Let's see. O is, oh, snap. Now, question. 9 time units. Yes, dash, dash, dash. There's no possible way you're going to get 9 dots, clearly. So how else can you get 9? It could be dash with 6 dots. Not possible. It could be 2 dashes with 3 dots. Is there a letter with 2 dashes and 3 dots? There is no such thing. It's got to be dash, dash, dash. It's got to be an O. Interesting. Could be mouse. No, it can't be mouse because of the time units. Well, here's the thing. The logic points to it being house, and it is. It is house. The logic points to the word being house.
Just because it's an S for the top row, does that mean it says an S for the bottom?
No, independent. Yeah, good question. For those of you in the chat, he asked the question, because it was an S at the top, does it have to be an S down here? No, they are independent letters. Still could be an S, also could be a T. That's what we're faced with. So now, let's kind of work through something in a little bit more detail here. Check this out. These 2 letters together should be 18 time units. Actually, no, not even. There's a space in between them, so it should be 15 time units, right? Those 2 letters together should be 15 time units. What do they tell you about the second word? Okay. The first is longer. So altogether, I'm going to write myself a little note here. Oh, wait a minute. The first one, okay, so they have to add up to 15. So it could be 8 and 7? So hold on. It could be 8 and 7. It could be 9 and 6. Oh, but remember the space in between. Now check this out. Which letter in this alphabet takes the longest to transmit? How long is that? You can't go longer than that? J and Q take 10. So does Y. Y takes 10. Yeah. So here's the thing. This second letter is either going to be, or second word, I should say, is either going to be 8 and 7, 9 and 6, or 10 and 5 time units. You could do something similar with the last word. And I'm going to set you up for this. Hold on. Let's see. For the last word, I'm going to take 3 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 3, and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. That's 31. 47 minus 31 equals 16. Right? So with 16, these last two letters are either going to be 8 and 8, 9 and 7, or 10 and 6, because the largest letter takes 10 units to get there. Or the other way around, I apologize. It could also be 7 and 9 or 6 and 10. Right? Because you don't know anything about those letters. It also could be 7 and 9 or 6 and 10. At this point, this is like a cryptogram almost, where you're trying to find letters that fit these particular patterns and have those particular time units in between them. It is pretty sick. I know. So for the time that we have, because I know I have about 5 or so minutes left, let's try to figure out what that second word is, because that one's a bit easier than the third word. A bit easier. So for the second word, we have to find letters that make 8 units and 7 units. Now, just so you're aware, I've already found them out. I went through them. I made it a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to break it up like this then, just to kind of visually see it. Oh, my bad. I thought I flipped it over. So 8 and 7. 8 and 7. C, P, X, Z for 8. And G, K, W for 7. I'll zoom in. CPXZ for 8. And GKW for 7. Yeah. Then, for 9 and 6, O is the only 9-unit word or letter. And then for 6, it's BFLMV. For 10 and 5, it's JQY, as we talked about before. And for 5, it's DRU. From this alone, you actually should be able to figure out what that middle word is. Should be the word of. What's your logic there? Pretty much. Yeah. It has to be in that order. It has to be in that order because they say the first letter is longer than the second letter. In that case, it's like, well, you can't do any of these. You can't do 8 and 7 because there's no vowels. Like, you can't make a word there. JU, QU, YU doesn't work. It's got to be of. OF. Which, again, makes sense for that thing. House of something. You probably could guess the word.
It's like kind of obvious, but
It is and it isn't. It is and it isn't. You could guess the word, but of course you have to make sure that whatever these two letters are, they add up to 16 time units. They have to add up to 16. And obviously this letter is going to be an S or a T. So yeah, that's where we're at. Double check one letter here. Where did that one letter come from? Oh yeah, that's where that letter came from. Yeah, okay. I was just double checking something. I have it correct. I was just double checking. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity, obviously, because I don't want to give it away just yet. I want you to be able to guess and think as to what those letters could be or should be. But while you're kind of doing that, let me just show you something separate to kind of let you know what's going on. I am going to be posting for you Enigma project number 1 and Enigma project number 2. You will be able to figure those out a lot easier based on the directions that are there. It is fairly straightforward and simple, number 1 and 2. The Morse code thing, the thing that we've been working on, the Morse code thing is not so obvious. It's not. There it is. It really isn't. That's why I wanted to walk you through a lot of these things right here to kind of give you that leg up. Now, I will eventually give away the answer to this, but I don't know if you want me to give away the answer right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a bit of kind of excitement of like, oh, can I figure this out? You know? But again, the Morse code thing was very like, what in the heck is going on here? Now, I'm actually going to erase my answer and show you my scratch work. There we go. I'll show you my scratch work right here, just to kind of show you the logic that I went through. But look at this. I erased my answer so you can't see it. But you can see all of the scratch work that I went through to try and figure out what the heck this word was. It was pretty, I mean, it was pretty similar to what we just did, you know? So, this is more of a fun thing. I'm not going to expect you to turn anything in for this Morse code thing. I'm not going to expect you to turn anything in for this Morse code thing. It's more of a, hey, can you do it? And then ask me on Monday, and then we'll talk about what the answer should have been. Number 2, I am going to be assigning you the other 2 parts, the first 2 parts of the Enigma project, because those are very straightforward and little simple puzzles that I want you to get done, and you can understand them by the directions. And like I said, I am going to be throwing an assessment at you in regards to transposition and the other things that we've been doing, just because I want to get another assessment in there. But like I said, it's all going to be very straightforward. Plus, you have until Monday. My goodness, Monday. Remember how I missed that day for the vaccine shot? My next shot is scheduled for an A day, which shouldn't affect you guys. But I've been told that the second shot does kick you in the face a little bit harder. So there is a possibility I might be out a second day. Just as a heads up. Anyway, if you haven't left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do. I see you guys so far. Bell's about to ring. There.
You were off by 10.
You're off by 10 points.
Dang it! Every time. You got you there.
I did hesitate for like half a second.